Faith is seeing a buildable future. Well, welcome back to my friendly neighborhood pond here, guys. Faith is seeing a buildable future. You know, yesterday I was just over here and we talked about faith being, the ability to see the coming destruction and structuring your life accordingly. Right, we're looking at the story of Joshua and Rahab, the prostitute, and everything hinges on your relationship to the coming destroyer, Joshua, right, in that story. And actually, Joshua and Jesus are the same name. They're just rendered differently in English, but it's actually the same name. So in that story, you can imagine Jesus is Joshua, the coming destroyer of evil. But Jesus, in a way, is also Rahab, the safekeeper, right? Everybody in the house, in Rahab's house, was saved. So in a way, Jesus was Joshua, and Jesus is also like the safe house, the place you can flee to, right? Everybody in that house was saved. Everybody outside was completely annihilated. So we run to Jesus. Our relationship to Jesus is the most important thing. That determines whether we end up being saved and having a spot in God's future world. Like I said yesterday, God is going to remake the world. He's not going to scrap the world. Okay, so I would say faith is seeing a buildable future in that world, right? Now, I think a lot of people kind of have the idea of kind of going to heaven, right? And kind of sitting on a cloud and having a harp thrust into their hands by an angel and just kind of having to play praises to God sitting on a cloud. Is that a buildable future? The reason I say a buildable future is because we as humans want to build things, right? That's what gets us up in the morning, right? That's what we get excited about. That's what the whole thrust of our existence is about, living. But what is life? I could say, well, faith is seeing a future of life or a thriving future, but that's kind of not as specific. The reason I say the word buildable is because we need to be able to build something, right? When the Israelites were in the desert, right? Remember when God saved his people from Egypt? One thing he told them constantly was that he was taking them to a good land that would be their land where they could prosper, right? Another word we could use is seeing a prosperous future, but a future that we can do stuff in, right? Sitting on a cloud and playing a harp, that doesn't appeal to our most basic desires, which is a desire to build. If you look around at men, they want to build houses, they want to build, they're always tinkering on their cars, or they're doing something building related, right? And if you ask the average woman, what do you want in life, she'll say, I want to build a family, right? I've wasted a lot of my time chatting with women online, and I can tell you 99% of women, what they want is to build a family. That's it. That's their dream, to have a family. And that's great. We want to build stuff. We as humans, we weren't made to just sit around and do nothing. We were made to build. I mean, can you see those big construction vehicles there? What are they doing there? Well, they're building. Maybe I'll just walk over there. And just over that hill there where they're building, the land is desolate. All right, there's nothing there yet. There are no houses. I mean, you can see here there's some apartment buildings, some single-family residential over there. And guys, the verse I was thinking about today is the beginning of Isaiah 54, where it says, "Sing, barren woman, you who never bore a child. Burst into song, shout for joy, you who were never in labor, because more are the offspring of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, declares the Lord." Right? That's interesting, isn't it? More are the offspring of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband. I think a lot of women get really desperate when they hit their 30s. Actually, one woman I remember talking to, she said, she was in her 20s, she said, if I don't find a good man by 30, I'm gonna go to a sperm bank and I'm gonna have a baby. She had her life fixed. I'm gonna have a baby when I'm 30, right? So yeah, she had her life all planned out. I mean, she couldn't picture any other future, right? She needs that future. Well, faith is seeing, it's a kind of, I mean, faith is giving up your control and putting it in God's hands and trusting that God is the God of recompense. All right, I love that. Guys, there's some loud cars driving past here. They always zip around here. I don't know. Maybe that's what guys love, is just driving these. They're not even really sports cars. They're just driving normal cars, pretending like they're sports cars. But God is the God of recompense. Right? Do you believe that God is the God of recompense? I think the reason a lot of people get anxious, both men and women, is they see this life as really a good place where we can build stuff, right? You can get married, you can start a family, you can build a house, you know, you can just grow your life, right? That's the thrust of what people are wanting. They're wanting improvement. They want prosperity, right? And if they can't get it, they get really nervous, and there's almost no point in building something, right? If there's no future, if there's no buildable future, what's even the point of life? You know, what's the purpose of staying alive if you can't move forward, right? But the reality is that we all die, right? But the thing is, people just try to distract themselves. They try to just, you know, do whatever they can not to think about death and the ultimate loss of everything they've worked for, right? And they just try to distract themselves by building, and building is good. The thing is that building is made to be something eternal. We're supposed to be building forever and not lose. All right, guys, here you can get a bit better view of this desolate landscape, right? That they're transforming. Just look how dry this earth is right here. Isn't that something? Look at that, those cracks. Just how desolate it is, you know, like the barren woman in Isaiah 54, you know, how something can be desolate, but in the future it will not be desolate. You know, this reminds me of Isaiah 35, where there's a beautiful passage about, you know, the springs in the desert, you know, the dry land turning into, you know, springs and flowers blooming. And, you know, so many of the Psalms talk about this, and different passages in the prophets, you know, God just renewing everything. And it's a good thing, right? Having a buildable future, that's God's idea. You know, where did people get this idea that everything in this life is buildable, and then suddenly we're just going to get to heaven, you know, have a harp thrust into our hands, and we need to sing praises to God? And like, it's kind of like Christians believe that, but they kind of, they're trying to convince themselves that that's good, and that's kind of, you know, what they should be excited about, when really they're not excited about, right? When you look at this world, you know, what do we have here? Well, we have the chance to build something. We have good things, sex, you know, growing crops. You know, farmers, they really, when it comes down to it, like a lot of my relatives are farmers. When it comes down to it, they farm because they like to do it. It's not that someone's holding a gun to their head saying, hey, you need to grow crops. Even if they could make more money somewhere else, they would still be farmers. They just love to do it, growing crops, right? Having parties. You know, parties, Christians have kind of, probably throughout the last couple hundred years, have kind of really kiboshed, you know, the whole party scene. But partying is a good thing. You know, when you read through the Old Testament, how many feasts and festivals God was like almost forcing his people to do, right? Like, you need to remember this day, you need to celebrate, take a week off and celebrate. Hey, there's a little frog. Look at that. There's signs of life. guys, signs of life in the wilderness. That's awesome. So, you know, like with that passage in Isaiah 54, like for women, let's say, who are entering their 30s, or who are maybe past that stage where they've kind of come to terms with the reality that they're not going to be able to build a family, and that they think, well, they're never going to be able to build a family, they're never going to have offspring, and they're just going to have to they just hope that maybe they'll be fulfilled in God's new world in heaven, if they go up to heaven, right? They're just going to kind of be happy with Jesus. And it's, well, okay, why would God have made such a buildable future here for us now, and then suddenly take that away from us? Don't you think that would be a bit fishy? That suddenly it's just a worse reality? I mean, honestly, when I hear Christians talk about heaven, it doesn't excite me at all. It's like a worse reality, you know? So yeah, you know, that's why reading the Bible is so important, because you clearly see, guys, there's a big construction vehicle coming over here. Don't want to get run over. So when you read the Bible, you can see how wrong Christians are on many things, so many issues. And just to read it and just to think about it, passages like Isaiah 54, right? Sing, barren woman. She has a reason to sing. Shout for joy, you who never bore a child, because more are the offspring. Well, how is that going to happen? How is that going to happen? And people always think about what Jesus said, right? Where, you know, he said, well, you know, people aren't going to be married or given in marriage in heaven. You know, they're going to just be like the angels. Well, that doesn't excite anybody. But look, I don't think that passage is really meaning what it says. Well, you know, it doesn't. That passage isn't trying to take away the buildable nature of this life, or of the next life when God remakes everything. He's making a different point there. It's not saying that that people, that like there's going to be no relationships, there's going to be no like oneness. Look, what we experience here is just a shadow of the things to come. It's not the other way around, where the future is kind of going to be like, well, a shadow of the things that were in this good life here, where we had good relationships, we had you know, a chance to build a family, a chance to build a home, and then we're sitting there strumming a harp, kind of looking back at, oh, you know what, I really should have gone for it, had the chance, you know, to build a family there. I should have just done it while I had the chance, right? And that's the thing, that's why people get desperate when they get into their 30s or 40s, and they recognize the only chance in all of history, in all of eternity, is right now, and they get kind of antsy, they get desperate, right? Well, that's not the case, right? The God who made this beautiful world, who gave us a chance to build, you think he's just going to suddenly take it away? No, what he's going to take away is death. He's going to take away you know, getting screwed over. Because you know what, if you try to build a house and someone, like, you get screwed over, and you're, you know, or there's a war in the army, your house gets destroyed, right? What happened to all your hard work? It's just gone. What meaning did it have? It's done, right? Whereas in the future, our building will be able to last. And what Paul says in the New Testament, what he says is like, look, what we build for God will endure, right? The rest that's not built, you know, things that aren't built for the kingdom of God, they will get burned up. But the things that are done for the sake of Christ, right, those are the things that will endure. And so we don't need to worry about our building projects getting destroyed now, because the one who is coming is going to incorporate our building project, our building, whatever we've built, into his kingdom, right? He's the one who builds the kingdom. He's in charge of the one. We're just kind of building for his kingdom. That's what N.T. Wright says. I like that. I don't know exactly how he says it, but something like that. We are the ones building for his kingdom, right? So our works will endure, will last into the future, into the new world when he renews, right? Yesterday I shared that verse. You know, when you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. That renewal, right? Isaiah 35, things, you know, the springs, you know, popping out of the dry ground. It's awesome, that experience. You know, a few months ago, I was out on a field over there. I bike there every day to do my memorizing, try to memorize a few verses a day, and it was just kind of dry like it was up there, right? But suddenly it rained for a few days straight, and I didn't go biking. And then when I went out there, suddenly it was like it had come to life. There were frogs, like it sounded like there were literally 1 billion frogs in this kind of like, you know, swampland area. And I was like, where on earth did all these frogs come from? How could there be nothing? You can't hear a single thing one day, and then like 2 or 3 days later, suddenly you can hear like 1 billion frogs. Where did they come from? You know, life, greenery, it just springs up, right? It's just incredible, you know, seeing new life, seeing the chance to build something, right? So I just want to, you know, encourage you guys with that. Like, don't think that the future is going to be boring. Don't think that, you know, we're going to go up to heaven and that's the end. Heaven isn't the destination. If heaven is the point of life, the Bible makes no sense, right? So choose a theology where the Bible makes sense. Whatever you want to do, just choose your set of beliefs that allow the Bible to make sense, because the Bible is very clear. This world is not going God has established this world forever. It will never be moved, right? It says that in a whole bunch of Psalms. Psalm 93, Psalm 96, Psalm 78, I think, Psalm 103, 104 maybe. Just a whole bunch in that area, that from like 80s to the hundreds, especially there. It's just a whole bunch of times it says, you know, God has established the earth forever. It will never be moved. It's firm. It will never be moved. But the other theme that it kind of runs parallel to that is that it will be, I think there was a fish. Just heard something flop around over here. But yeah, the kind of the parallel theme is that God will renew the face or the surface of the, you know, ground. It says that the world will kind of be transformed like a garment. It will be kind of like taking off, you know, when you take off your clothes, you're not dying, you're putting on new clothes, right? So it's kind of going to be like that, I guess. I don't know, we don't know, guys. Oh, I see the thing swimming away here. It's like an otter. I think it looks like an otter, maybe a gopher. Can gophers swim? I'm not sure. But guys, you know, that's a beautiful future. The buildable nature of the coming reality is that it's going to be a buildable thing. You know, and God is going to give us roles, tasks. We are going to, I don't even know how to imagine it, but we know Jesus is going to reign from Jerusalem, right? It says that's going to be the highest mountain of all. Who knows, maybe that's going to be maybe the way the world is reshaped, right? Jerusalem being the highest mountain, you know, valleys built up, you know, mountains brought down. I don't know how it's going to be, but and then rebuilding the towns, rebuilding cities, because remember in Psalm, I think it's Psalm 10 or Psalm 9 or 10, it says there's cities you rooted out, the very memory of them has perished, right? So imagine taking one of these like jackhammers and you're rooting out the cities of the remnant of evil. You know, some people think that when God comes, it's just going to everything's going to kind of happen in a twinkling of an eye, and then we're going to be in like a city of gold. And I don't know, who knows? But so many of the passages talk about this kind of stuff, rooting out cities, re-inhabiting the land, you know, building up the settlements. You know, you think God's going to do everything? Well, if God is going to do everything and we're just going to sit there and do nothing, then like the whole nature of our reality now makes no sense, right? God has made us to be workers, and Jesus even said, remember, you know, ask the Lord of the harvest to raise up workers. Well, why would he want us to why would he want to raise up workers if he's just going to do everything? There are passages that says he's going to do stuff. For example, you know, what Jesus says about you know, serving. He's going to serve. We're going to sit at the table of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of God, and he himself is going to serve us, right? Which goes right along with Isaiah 25. On that day, you know, the Lord of how does it go? The Lord of hosts will prepare a banquet for all people on that mountain, on his holy mountain, right? Of wine and choice meats. How does it go? Something like yeah, nice wine, nice meat. It's going to be a feast, right? And that's amazing. So yeah, he's going to serve us. That's a humbling thought. Have the king of the world, stoop down, wash your feet, cook for you and all of that. That's great. But it doesn't mean that we're just going to sit there and do nothing, guys. We're going to be involved in a way where our work isn't going to get destroyed, because it can be really depressing right now, right? Imagine if you have a family, your family dies. Let's say someone murders your family or something like that, or you build a house, or you're trying to start something, a business, and it fails. Well, in the future, our work will endure, and it's going to be just so much more enjoyable. Everything's going to be better when God renews everything, right? Because now, I mean, the world has been, oh, you can see the stuck its head out there. It's just swimming around in the pond. That's awesome. But anyway, I'm rambling, guys. So I just wanted to encourage you guys with that word. I just thought, I was thinking about faith, right? I'm going to make this is kind of a series I'm going to do on faith, and yeah, how faith can be seen from different angles. And yesterday we said, faith, at bottom, faith is basically fear, right? That's the first step, understanding that the world is going to be destroyed, evil is destroyed, and you are part of the problem. So how can I get right with Joshua, who's right outside the city over there? How can I do that, right? Jesus and Joshua, right? Same name. And we need to get right with Jesus. And the Bible is very clear on how to do that. We just humble ourselves, say, forgive me of my sins, right? Like the story Jesus said about the religious guy. He's got everything together, who gives this really elaborate prayer, and then the other sinner who just goes home and, like, the tax collector who just beats his chest, says, God, I'm a sinner, forgive me, right? And I'm gonna change. I need to change. I need your help. Change, save me. Even I think David says in the Psalms, my sin has gone over my head, save me. Right? You've done a lot of stuff, you've gotten involved in everything, now your sin is up to here, save me. A lot of people, what they do in that situation, they say, I'm not okay, I've gotten myself into all this stuff, I can't go to God anymore, I'm just too bad. Well, that's not faith. Faith is appealing to the King and asking for debt forgiveness, and asking to have a place in his buildable future, to be able to do something for God. I mean, that's why I'm starting this channel, right? It's what else am I going to do in my life? Nothing. People can seek distractions, or they can do something for God. So I hope the videos that I'll make on this channel will be encouraging, or somehow, I don't know, somehow help build your faith, like I'm trying to do. Like I said yesterday, I'm not I wouldn't see myself as having tremendous faith, but I see the coming destruction. I see I need to get right with Jesus. I see I want a buildable future, because that's good. Sometimes when I talk to atheists, trying to convince them that life is a good thing and death is a bad thing, it's like, very often it's the other way around, where they just almost see death as kind of a good part of life, and that always pisses me off, because it's very clear, death is the enemy, life is good. We need God to renew the world. We can do certain things, we should be building for that, but it's not like we're gonna save the whole world. We're not the savior, it's Jesus who is. And so we wait for him, we cry out for him, thy kingdom come, right? That's the most famous prayer around the world, right? Our Father, right? We ask for his kingdom to come. So guys, as we wait for his kingdom to come, I just I hope you're encouraged by this idea that faith is seeing a buildable future. right throughout the Bible, God presented this idea to the people, and he wanted people to get excited about that they could actually do stuff, they could live righteously, they could build, families, fill the land, that the whole glory of the glory of the Lord will cover the whole earth, right? As the waters cover the sea. It says that in a couple places in the Bible. So guys, if you're a desolate woman, don't worry about it, or if you have to give up something, right? We sacrifice our present chance. We don't get desperate and say, well, this is my last chance, therefore I'm just going to go to a sperm bank, or therefore I'm going to I just need to do this now because this is my last chance. No, it's not about that, right? We recognize death is coming. So what difference does it make if you get a little bit of this or a little bit of that? It's the most important thing is to recognize we need eternity. We need God to give us life so that we can continue to build, so that we don't suffer loss. Right? Think of all the successful people who have built great things. Steve Jobs, right? I mean, look what he said before he died. He just, the meaninglessness of you've worked so hard to build something, and then you're dying, and you can't even, like, it's yours, it's your thing, it's your baby, it's your, and it's just, everything's just dying. Guys, that's the depressing nature of this life, is that things are dying, even if we try really hard to preserve our bodies, or to preserve our house, or to preserve our car. I just had a vehicle just break down, guys, it's depressing. So just keep in mind that faith is seeing a buildable future. We need to have that faith. So guys, that's another aspect of faith. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. But and what other aspects of faith you think there are to talk about. There's so many things, This series could go on forever. I don't know how many videos I'm going to make in this series, but because faith is such a key piece, right? It says that without faith, it's impossible to please God. It's impossible, like, without faith, you're not seeing any, you're just kind of trying to distract yourself, right? By doing something, building something here, and then ultimately just dying and having to lose it, right? Whereas with God, there's a chance of life forever. That's so beautiful. That's exciting. That is the biggest source of my joy, knowing that, like, I wouldn't say I have a lot of joy in my life, but that is the thing that is the biggest source of my joy, knowing that when God comes back, when Jesus steps back, when his feet touch down here on the earth, that boy, there is a future there. And even now, for all who hope in him, that's just it's incredible, just that knowledge that we can do something that's going to last forever. So hopefully the things that I do with my time, with my life, they are kind of building in some small way, building for eternity. So guys, God bless you, and one last shot of my friendly neighborhood pond here. All right, have a great day.